Good Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you're with us wherever you are. If you're joining us here on the airwaves in Santa Barbara, California at TVSB, we welcome you. And of course, so many of you are joining us around the world at goodlifetelevision.org and at our YouTube channel that's been launched this year. And then now we've seen a lot of you joining us at our podcast. So any of the podcast platforms you can go to and you can search under Good Life Conversations, Good Life Conversations, and you can find us there. So if you want to listen on the podcast, you can do that, but we'd love to have you. We've been so grateful to have so many great guests over these years, people from all walks of life, and we're dwelling on the good stuff. We're talking about the good stuff, and it's been really uplifting. It's uplifting for me every week, and I hope it is you as well, so thank you for joining us. I'm so glad and excited to have my guest with me today. The mayor is with us. Well, we're sitting in Santa Barbara, California. We have Mayor Rowse. He's a good friend. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Good to see you, Dean.
Is it weird to be called mayor still? Or
it's a little weird, but I've been called worse, so it's I'm getting used to it. Yeah, I just as long as we had such a pattern for so many years, I just request that people don't say Madam Mayor, because that's really a tough thing to break for a lot of folks. So
that's right. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
It's been a while here, but we're excited to I was excited to follow that election, and then to see you elected was exciting.
Yeah, wrapping up year one right now.
Yeah, year one, 5-year term, right?
5-year sentence, and it started last January, and because we're going to go to even year elections after this, so they add the extra year on to get us to the next one.
Got it. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Los Angeles, out in eastern San Gabriel Valley, a town called West Covina.
Oh yeah.
And so that's where I, did my thing. Came to UCSB as a freshman and never left.
Didn't go back.
No.
Yeah, and you were like in environmental studies, or what was your?
I was an environmental studies major. I ended up graduating in geography with a history minor, but environmental studies was my main thing.
Okay.
And it was a really big major at the time. It was just post oil spill. So Santa Barbara was, of course, the epicenter of the Earth Day and all the things that went on at that time based on the big oil spill.
Okay, great. And your wife is Janet, who's been on the program. She runs something we were talking before we came on about Janet's work with Safe Launch, and she's doing such great work. And you guys have been married quite a while. Do you think it's going to work?
Yes, I was just trying to do the math here. I think it's 34 years if I got that correct. I'm sure I'll be corrected otherwise. But yeah, no, I think she's very dedicated. It is more than a full-time job. It's a full-time passion.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of office furniture at home. And she works on that all the time.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the episode with Janet Rowse, go check that out. It's really wonderful what they're doing in the area of kind of underage drinking and addiction, and she gave me a book when she came on the program that I've been looking at that is fascinating. So she's great work that they're doing.
I didn't bring any books today.
No books?
Sorry, no.
Nothing.
No, I got
nothing. So let's go back to your kind of primary career here. That's before you ran for city council, and then of course now you're mayor. You were in the restaurant business a long time. Paradise Cafe, the great Paradise Cafe. I've heard that the restaurant business is like the toughest business.
It's pretty silly. True? Yeah, it's you get somebody that went into the food service business, then went for elected office. You're talking about a unique genius right there.
Right.
But I was at UCSB, and at that time, coming out in the mid '70s, got out of school with your liberal arts degree. There were no jobs, especially if you wanted to live in Santa Barbara. So my partner, it turned out he was an old fraternity brother of mine, and we had both worked at a place called Chuck's Steakhouse in school. And we had some other buddies that opened a place called the Enterprise Fish Company. So he went to work for them, I went to work for Chuck's, and eventually we partnered on the old La Paloma Cafe, which it is again now.
Right.
Called it Paradise Cafe, and we were there for 38 years. What
was that like?
Well, it was great. I mean, it was a very thriving business, particularly in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I went through all sorts of cycles of ups and downs and recessions and all the things that went on. It is a crazy 7-day week, career.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny now to be like a daytime guy, like where I go home at night. And
right.
Wow, I'm just
what am I
starting
supposed
right
to do
now?
now?
So, got weekends off.
Right. So what prompted you to first run for city council? Like, why did you do that?
Well, because number one, my business was right across the street from City Hall, and I was always involved in civic not campaigns, but committees and commissions. I was kind of a finger wagger. I was very critical of City Hall, and it was kind of one of those put up or shut up moments when Doss Williams went to Assembly. There was an open seat, and they had to appoint someone. And somebody dragged me in literally with 10 minutes to go left in the application process. I said, okay, fine, I'll put my name in. There were 46 of us. It was like a big game show, and they were going 3-3, 3-3, and Janet and I literally got up to go to dinner because we thought they're never going to break the tie. And then Grant House crossed over because he'd worked with me on some of those commissions and knew me. And all of a sudden, you could hear a pin drop in that very packed house. So
Wow.
and there it was.
Wow.
It was like a shotgun wedding. I had my hand on the Bible and the other hand up.
And there you were.
There I was.
Wow.
Being sworn in.
And was that 8 years for you?
That was in 2010, and so I had that last year to finish, and then I ran twice more.
Okay.
Because I actually, as it turns out, I actually really like the work.
Huh.
Campaigning is not for normal people, but
Right.
but the work itself, and it has to do with service. I mean, if you get a bang out of even something little that can really make somebody's day, like making their street light all of a sudden work, because
Yeah,
I know
right.
the guy to call. And,
Right.
And that's good stuff, and that's a part of it I really like.
Yeah, that in that sense, I mean, they say all politics is local. I mean,
Yeah.
in that sense, the little things are the big things because you're really dealing with, coming to the pothole, the people that are dealing with whatever it is they're dealing with in their actual real life. You have a chance to do something about that.
Well, we do infrastructure and public safety. When we go out beyond that, we start to get in the weeds.
Right.
And but what local governments do is actually the most significant to your day-to-day quality
Yeah,
of life.
right.
So, like I said, when somebody calls up and said the pothole politics thing,
Right.
and you can make that happen for them, you've done your job.
Right. And that actually changes somebody's life in the little way that actually matters. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's being debated in Washington, I mean, it doesn't necessarily affect our life, but this stuff actually does.
No, we usually take a subject and form a committee and hire a consultant and, bat it around for a few years, and
Nothing
it's
happens.
still there 10 years later. guys.
Blue ribbon commission that
Precisely.
makes recommendations that nobody follows.
Yeah,
I mean, not to be cynical, but I mean, you have to be able.
Well, it is, but it gets cynical because I've actually got a little picture of a little model of a plastic spine on my desk that Janet got for me, and it's basically the antidote to party politics. And that's what I say.
Spine.
Insert the spine. Go make your decision. So.
That's good. That's good.
I'm not very popular among my colleagues.
Hey, you win some and you lose
You
some.
win some and lose some.
So what's it? So and then take us to the decision to run for mayor. Like, why did you actually pull the trigger on that?
It was interesting because I had sold my business and left council the exactly same day on December 31, 2019. And I was done. I was going to, off with some buddies to go sailing, and that was it. Well, then we went through, obviously COVID was a really, really tricky time. And then when the George Floyd tragedy hit in Minneapolis, and all of a sudden everybody's looking at their police differently, but we have a very special, very dedicated community policing force. And I felt that was being ignored and that was being pushed aside to dovetail with the national dialogue. And that and a couple other things that happened watching that council, and Janet got tired of me looking at my laptop and
Screaming.
Exactly, screaming at inanimate objects, and I decided to go back in. I was just the service what we did over all those years does mean something to me.
Yeah.
And I do like to do the work, and I do like to see the city move forward on issues that are apolitical and have to do with the people we work for, the 90,000 people who live in, the city of Santa Barbara.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
You don't strike me as a real political guy in the classic sense, which is kind of refreshing.
Well, it's kind of the Freddie Flintstone way of looking at life, but it really is true. And if you really are very politically involved, which is fine on an individual basis, but if you bring it into work, you're serving two masters.
Yeah.
When you're serving the party as opposed to your constituents. And of course, the logic will be, well, if I don't get elected, I can't serve you. Well, okay, and that's legitimate, but that's not how I run. So
Yeah.
it's like
that's what bothers me a little bit about the House of Representatives, it seems like they govern for like 12 to 14 months and then they're running again.
They have to. I mean, the House of Representatives every 2 years. I just, matter of fact, I just was at an event with Salud Carbajal, who's a friend of mine, and I just go, I don't know how you do that, because there's no day in his life that he doesn't have to raise money to keep going.
Right.
And when I look at the national election, just that we just had, and they're talking about, well, we won, or we did this, or we did that. They're not talking about they're talking about the party and the strength within the party.
Yeah. And
at some point in the priority thing, you tumble down to where you actually do something for the people that you actually got elected by, and I don't know. So I say, it kind of leaves me cold. It is the system we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't imagine going to those upper echelons of politics and having to dance that
constantly run.
Yeah.
I hope I can find this quick since we're on TV. But I saw this quote the other day about this, that's on this very subject. It says, a politician thinks of the next election. A statesman thinks of the next generation. That's kind of in line with what we're talking about. I mean,
I agree.
Really, the elected office, I mean, this is about serving the people.
And when's the last time you really looked and thought of somebody as a statesman?
Yeah, where's that gone?
Yeah, well, it's gone the way of, entertainment, snap decisions, whatever, social media, instant news.
Sound bites.
Yeah, sound bites. A sound bite kind of generation. And I was actually talking to, you remember Sander Van Oker, who is a Montecito resident?
Yeah.
And talking to him years ago, and he said back in his day, and he worked at the London Bureau, and he had with Edward R. Murrow and people like that, and they said a morning news cycle and an evening news cycle. And I go, well, what changed? He goes, when Ted Turner did the news cycle, 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, CNN.
And now you get these little bites.
Yeah.
And that's all, you don't get a fleshed out story. You don't get journalism. And I think that translates into who we elect right now.
Yeah.
We're electing shiny objects and blustery people, and not people of substance that are statespeople. Right.
We need statesmen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good thought.
I mean, civility is actually more than just your mom telling you how to behave. Civility actually is a functional way to run a business or a government or in your society.
Yeah, we need to see that too with our leaders. I mean, I remember when Ronald Reagan was shot and Tip O'Neill is at the hospital praying, Psalm 23 over the president. Yeah. Different parties, but statesmen.
Yep.
I always think about that because I'm like, would that happen today? I'm like, I can't imagine.
I don't know.
Like that, you know what I mean? Like we need that.
Absolutely need that, and Reagan O'Neill had a pretty famous, love-hate relationship because they're Irish, a little Irish whiskey after hours and talk about life.
Right.
But that's precisely what you want to see across the aisle, because for our day-to-day lives, it doesn't matter if you're a red coat or a blue coat. What matters is that you get the things in your life that are functional. Your country's working, your schools are working. Yeah. All the things that seem to be secondary in our priorities. They're not really secondary. Right. But when you look at the news, they seem to be secondary.
Yeah, yeah. And the idea that you can go to battle for your ideas, you can fight, you can articulate, you can be passionate, and then at the end of the day, shake hands and be friends and realize that this is not my enemy. I mean, believe me, these aren't the enemy. The enemies, we know we got some enemies in this country, but it's not each other.
Yeah, no, and sometimes I get criticized for some of my people that I hang out with socially and whatnot, because they really are on a very different political spectrum. I go, well, that's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, right.
And I certainly can leave ideology and political beliefs at the door when I go into City Hall, and I make a point out of doing that personally. Right. And I would love it if my colleagues did, but they are who they are individually. Yeah. And they have as much power as I do. I just get to bang the gavel and say, we're meeting and we're not. Right, right. But it would be great if all of those outside, wants, desires, beliefs, career aspirations, whatever it is that drives people, if that could go away just so we can get through the meeting and talk about, the issue at hand. Yeah, right. And there wasn't a consequence. There wasn't a calculation on this vote will mean that later on. Yeah.
Yeah,
because
right.
it's not fair to that subject at hand.
Right, right. It's a good thing. I mean, for you, I mean, you say, you know, you're good friends with Salud Carbajal and you're over here, and like that should be celebrated. That you know, I actually have friends on way different sides of the. That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, that's mature. That's you know, that's the way we can be.
Well, I tell people, I go, Salud is a very decent human being. He's a good
Yeah,
man. And
right.
people go, how can you say that?
Yeah.
Well, because he is. You know?
Right,
We
right,
don't agree on anything, but
Right,
you know,
right.
but he's a really good man.
Right,
And
right.
he's a good public servant.
Yeah, that's so good.
You know, so
Well, I think that's wonderful.
are you listening, Salud?
Salud's been on this couch.
Has he really?
And Doss and Gina Carbajal actually too. Yeah, that's.
Well, I
great.
work with Gina from time to time in Special Olympics, which
Yeah.
that's her
Right.
whole thing. And
Right.
that's actually where I saw Salud last. So.
Okay, yeah, they're great people. So, as mayor, as you think about our city, do you have like a top 3 or something of kind of initiatives, problems to solve, initiatives to launch, things that you're thinking about that kind of you think about every day?
Well, you know, when I ran, you know, of course, everyone wants a slogan or a thought. And, you know, my whole thing was clean, safe, secure, which I think is very, very basic. You know, is the city clean? Do you feel safe in terms of just your physical well-being or your family walking around?
Yeah.
And security as well. And a lot of that has to do with aberrant street behavior. And, you know, as I mentioned to you off air, I don't even like using the word homeless because that connotes, well, if it's homeless, then you give them a home and the problem's over,
solved,
which
right.
we know better than that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so all that has to do with having good lighting, good maintenance. Right now we're dealing with obviously the situation coming out of COVID where the parklets and the closed streets were an accommodation to keep those businesses going.
Right.
Now what? And wither State Street, and that's a big
Right,
thing, and
right.
parades and traditions and all those things. And, you know, I'm doing my best to leave my personal thoughts out of that because there's a lot of public opinion, a lot of functions, a lot of things going on at one time. But in the meantime, we have to provide for the public safety. We have to make sure there's enough of our police force on the street. We have to make sure there's enough non-sworn people, the people that are just like the ambassadors or our VIPs, to give the police a multiplier to at least let people know we're there.
Yeah.
And we're watching and we're paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, supporting our public works department, you know, in which, as you notice, how hard it is to get here today from the
Right.
traffic over there. Well, you're welcome. That's our public works department that work. You know,
New roundabout.
New roundabout.
Yeah.
All those things are so important. And of course, as a taxpayer, you're still paying all the money that you paid before, but the services are a little diminished because we just don't have the personnel right now. Mm-hmm. Every business is having a hard time hiring. So.
Yeah.
Those things like that, the people we do have are fabulous because they're wearing 2 and 3 hats because they have to.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so, you know, making sure that we take care of those people, making sure that we're looking how to fill in the gaps,
Yeah.
and then finding out what it is that people want to do in terms of making their life better. I mean, we have it pretty good here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
And the big thing is to not mess that up. That's
Right.
that's job one.
Right.
Don't mess it
Do
up.
no harm. Right.
Do no harm.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I love using that phrase, by the
Right.
way. Do no harm. But you know, ensuring that our quality of life remains at a level that is sustainable, that improves, that our children have healthy, happy situations to grow up in, to the extent that we can provide for that.
Right. Right.
We don't get in the way of their enjoying their childhood.
Right. 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 Right.
You know.
And how about the police? Like, I mean, I know that's a hat that you wear in terms of.
Sure.
Talk about the police in this town.
Well, the police in this town, you know, even before we, you know, going back when I was first on council, we still had a really strong community policing ethic, and which was fabulous. And we do a lot of reunification. We do a lot of things with individual clients. We have a couple of guys, one Keld Hove and another guy, Craig Burley, some other people that are out there doing amazing work with people on the streets that had that social work. Mm-hmm. But we're not really trained to do that. That's just what their passion is. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're down on our numbers right now, as are most departments, because there's a lot of stigma around policing.
Right.
Reason I came back into office,
Right.
trying to turn that around.
Right.
We just hired a new police chief, Kelly Gordon, and
Yep.
Kelly is, she's late of Monterey Park and worked in the Hollenbeck district in LAPD, so she's seen that end of the coin. loves being up here, is just getting introduced to the community, and loves that whole culture of community policing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your safety issues, and you have to, you know, be prepared for what we expect police to be prepared for.
Yeah.
But by the same token, you know, getting out and, you know, being on bikes, walking around,
Yeah.
letting people meet the people behind the badge.
Yeah.
It's all really important.
That is.
Yeah.
And we've got a great sheriff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard about that guy. Boy, I'm glad we didn't have to talk about the county on this.
Right,
No.
right.
No, Bill's doing, yeah. No, we do have a great sheriff, but it's policing in general.
Yeah.
It's looking at these people that I'm so grateful do this job.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
So
the
important.
job that I couldn't do
Right.
as an
Yeah.
individual. But I
Right.
mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
What they
Noble
accomplish.
profession.
Very noble
Yeah.
and extremely necessary, and a really, you know, it got pretty thin, and
Yeah.
we're building it back. But
Yeah, that's good.
you know, there's a lot of pride in the profession, and and as I meet and talk to these people as individuals, I'm continually impressed.
Yeah.
And I walk. I do a little ride around once in a while with them, but I usually try to do a walk along.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's great because you're out there, you're interfacing with people, and you're seeing them do these amazingly great community-oriented things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
no, it's super.
That's really good. Any thoughts, just before we close, we're almost out of time, but just kind of on leadership in general? I know we already talked about some of this already, but any thoughts on leadership?
Yeah, you know, leadership, I mean, there's a lot of rhetoric that goes behind the term leadership, but leadership is really a matter of setting the pace. And I always think about it as being a parent. You know, your kids, you can talk to your kids, and they'll kind of listen to you, and they kind of won't. But they are watching,
Right.
and they're watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's true all around. Leadership is not just, you know, giving the rhetoric to it, not putting words to it. It's actually doing. It's bringing people along for the game, for the ride.
Yeah.
Getting people engaged and having them follow you into whatever we're doing, or enabling people, finding the leaders within the people you're talking to and having them enabling their ability to lead.
Yes.
That to me is the leadership. That
Right.
bringing people together rather than saying, I am the person that leads.
Right.
Because that, you know, that doesn't,
Yeah.
that doesn't
Creating
always
more
translate.
leaders, bringing more, creating
bring
more
it, yeah, I mean,
empowering.
yeah, and subordinating yourself
Yeah.
to whatever cause or whatever thing you're trying to do, making, you know, if you you know, giving somebody else the credit going forward,
Right.
that's leadership.
Right. And what you do.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
precisely.
Yeah, people are watching.
Yeah.
Well, it's an exciting time for the city, I think, coming out of COVID, you know, and with you there, it's exciting, and we're with you. We're rooting for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Dean.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun.
Mayor Randy Rowse, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.